Shalom, man. Let's reverence Father Yahweh. Most holy and righteous Father Yahweh, this is your servant Kohan Kohila Hawkins, coming to you in unity with your people here, Father, being in unity with the great body of priests which you have established in these last days, being seasoned servants of your last days, known and witness, our pastor and overseer, the great Kohan Yisrayl Hawkins, and through him by the authority of our righteous high priest, Yahshua Messiah, whom we give all honor, glory, and praise to, Father Yahweh, for his righteous example, and for showing us, Father Yahweh, how to truly become made in your likeness and in your image. We come before you this day, Father, thanking you for this wonderful opportunity to continue to train in your great house and to learn what it takes to be a part of your administration, which will usher in your soon coming kingdom and everlasting righteousness and peace. We do bless you, we do thank you, and pray and ask that you will continue to protect us and inspire us daily. In Yahshua Messiah's name, we do pray and ask all of these things. Hallelujah, Yahweh. Praise Yahweh. Men, please be seated. We're going to be continuing in the fifth book of Yisrayl, the kingdom of priests. The kingdom of priests. We're going to be on page 67, and this is chapter 9. And the title is, The Kingdom of Priests Will Bring Peace to the Universe, number 1. And this is from the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the fourth Roman moon, the 24th day, 2005. And this is an X-rated sermon, but we're going to keep it kosher, as it were. I think that it's very interesting that we're actually going to cover some of the blessings of being a part of this priesthood, because today one of the things that Pastor was saying is that he wants to start bringing out more of the blessings concerning the kingdom of Yahweh, the things that we have to look forward to, but he's still not going to hesitate to bring forth the correction in the sermons if he have to, but he wants to start focusing on the blessings. And here in this sermon, there's a lot of blessings, as it were, things to look forward to. And so, of course, Pastor, when he comes out, he's rejoicing, seeing everyone. And he talks about in verse 3. Actually, let me move back up to verse 2. I'm going to read verse 2. It says, we're making a lot of mistakes on cleanliness and keeping ourselves free from death. And remember, this is when we were trying to practice separating from the shadow of death. And we all remember how difficult that was not to become defiled by the shadow of death, how easy it is for that to spread. And there was some great lessons that we learned concerning, guarding ourselves and being clean so that we can be presented and come before Father Yahweh. It was a very difficult thing to do, and we went through great efforts to try to keep the camp clean. And he said we made a lot of mistakes. He says, I would like for you to write down the mistakes that you're making, and we're going to put them in a book to have available for everyone to study over before Pentecost. Yahweh willing, we'll have this sanctuary cleansed, and we'll have a clean day with Yahweh there on Pentecost. We might even receive the blessings that the apostles did, which are also prophesied for these last days. And of course, some of those blessings, well, not specifically the blessings from the apostle, but, when we look at the blessings, sometimes we don't really consider that the greatest blessing, one of the greatest blessings that we have in these last days is the ability to teach righteousness, okay? The ability to teach righteousness, having our minds open to understand what's being taught here at Yahweh's house, and then having the opportunity to train to be a teacher. There's not going to be greater positions than those in the kingdom of Yahweh. And this is what Pastor wants us to understand, to be able to teach people how to become like Yahweh. What's better than that? So he says that the cafeteria is a great blessing. Okay. Why is the cafeteria a great blessing? Just to keep it short, one, the cafeteria is guarding and watching and making sure that the food that we eat when they prepare it, that it's clean and acceptable, so that we can have minds that are able to think clearly so that we can receive this information, right? So guarding the food supply, this is very important, in Yahweh's plan, in Yahweh's way of life, right? Because you are what you eat, and it's a true saying. You eat defiled food, then you're going to become defiled. Okay, it's going to cause confusion and so on and so forth. So he says the cafeteria is a blessing. He says the only thing wrong, and I'll just kind of paraphrase this here, is that people always rush to get over there to get food, and they don't always have enough help. Okay, so Instead of complaining about some things, help them out. Right? And this is what he's saying here. So he goes on, he talks about the speed limit and why it's important to follow the speed limit. And one of the things that he was mentioning is that if we're not following the speed limit, we're kicking up dust, we're not showing care and concern for our neighbors. We're not showing care and concern for our neighbors. So he was like, it's a Christian attitude, to speed down the road, kicking up dust, and then the people that live in those areas breathe those things in. He said it's a very selfish attitude to do those types of things, and we're not supposed to have those attitudes. I'm going to jump over to verse 6 here. It says, you really need every sermon. I notice some people are coming in late. I see people walking around. I hope they get the sermons, because every sermon that is going to be brought this feast is absolutely necessary for you. You really need to get it on tape. This tells you how old it is. Okay, getting it on tape. I think we still call it DVDs, tapes. I don't think I ever say DVD or MP4 or anything. I still call them tapes. He says, you really need to get it on tape. Get the tape sermons and listen to them over and over with your children. Talk about them. We really need to talk about these things with our families. If you would, there probably wouldn't be so many mistakes made on the uncleanness from death. If you would talk to your family about it, inform them, and get their feedback on it, you could get them interested in what we're trying to accomplish. And so here's a question. What are we trying to accomplish? Okay, what are we trying to accomplish? Well, in the next part here, verse 8, he says, what we're trying to accomplish is to be like Yahweh and have the greatest ahab that you could possibly have for one another, along with the greatest concern. So what we're trying to accomplish is getting everyone interested in becoming like Yahweh. Okay, but the only way we're going to do that is if we talk to our families about these things, talk to each other about these things, encouraging one another on towards perfect and righteous works. That's the only way we're going to accomplish this, trying to get people to be like Yahweh, to have this great concern, this great care and concern for everyone. It says, if we can develop that, we'll be in Yahweh's image. That's exactly what he wants in his kingdom. That's what I want to talk about today. I want to start with scriptures in Isaiah 42 and in Luke. We're going to be teaching this to the entire universe, and that's what we're training for right now. Okay, what are we training for? To teach people how to become like Yahweh, being interested in Yahweh, interested enough to change their lives. Okay, not to live according to the ways that we were taught before Yahweh's way, but actually learning the difference between Yahweh's way and the way of the adversary. And it's as simple as life and death, right? It's as simple as life and death. When you learn Yahweh's way, you learn the ways of life. Peace, joy, abundant living, all of those things accompany Yahweh's way. But misery, death, destruction, murders, war, so on and so forth, those are the things that follows the teachings of the adversary. So continuing on here, verse 9, it says, if you could imagine Yahweh's kingdom, Yahweh created the heavens and the earth, as Genesis says. And that's about as far as most Christians get. They never go any further. They never think about looking in the scriptures for the details of this. And the details are in the scriptures. And isn't this what Yeshua said? He said, look, you err or you make mistakes, you make poor choices because what? Because you don't know the scriptures, right? You make poor choices, you make errors, you do all of these things because you do not know the scriptures nor the power of Yahweh, right? And this is what Pastor's saying right here. They don't look in the scriptures, okay? And the details are in the scriptures. Yeshua said to him, have you not read what this prophet said? Have you not read? Have you not read? He always tried to tell people to read the scriptures. And this is what the House of Yahweh is doing in these last days. Read the scriptures. Now, the House of Yahweh is not scared to answer questions. House of Yahweh is not scared to answer questions because it has the source of all knowledge, the book of Yahweh. And Yahweh is guiding his house. Yeshua is the high priest over this house. So you think we're scared to answer questions? The House of Yahweh has the answers, right? It's in the scriptures. Look to the scriptures. Remember Yeshua, how did he say it? Look to me and be saved, but they won't look. They won't look, right? He says, search the scriptures, for in them they speak about me, right? Yeshua said that. But if you don't believe Moshe's writings, then you won't believe his teachings. They won't search the scriptures. Continuing on, he says, there are many kingdoms out there. Some of the planets we know are occupied. Some beings have been killed off by their own stupidity. The same thing that man is following today with nuclear activity, wars, fighting, and chaos. This has gone on for probably millions and billions of years. Talking about this teaching of this hatred, this separation. We see it blowing up in these last days. Like the last few months, we've seen, the whole world in chaos. Now, it's been going on for a long time. We see this teaching building up, but we're about to see it come to its fullness here pretty soon. And this is what the scripture shows us. But it's a teaching, and we were talking about it in the law class, not the law class, the Lamuja class. And Pastor was speaking about how the adversary, the problems that they have in heaven is because she was willing to tear up the family unit and bring forth her own teachings because of pride, right? And this is what we see. We see people, destroying one another for their own ambitions. It's these teachings that cause this separation. And one of the first examples that we see is in Genesis, okay, dealing with Cain. And I'm not going to read it all, but it shows a couple of key words here. Let's see. I think it's verse 11, 12. Okay, so verse 12, it says, when you work the soil, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You shall be a fugitive, and you will be ever searching for peace on the earth. Okay, so we know that he was a fugitive and a vagabond, forever searching for peace on the earth. But we know the mentality from this teaching. It's peace through war. Okay, let's build a higher tower, or let's build our military might. And who can oppose us if we're strong enough to enforce our will on people, right? But that's not Yahweh's way. Okay, and that teaching is why we see what we see today. Okay, in every aspect of life, in the households, and in individual homes, the way that the cities are governed, the way that the nations are governed, the way that the entire world is governed, is peace through war. Continuing on here in verse 10, Yahweh's kingdom is not like that. Yahweh's kingdom is what he's showing us now. He's training a people to present a way that is a way of ahab, mercy, kindness, thoughtfulness, and caring for other people. Okay, this is what we're being taught. So if we're not conducting ourselves like this, then we're not following the teachings of the House of Yahweh. If we're still, cursing at people, hollering at people, belittling people, if we're still doing those kinds of things, then we have a lot of work to do. Okay, and it's not too late. We just have to get things in gear. And remember, concerning the teachings, what that sign says. Okay, if we don't get to a certain point, we simply won't be there. Right? If we don't get to a certain point, we simply won't be there. We won't be teachers. Right? We have to learn how to live peacefully and then teach others to live the same way. We have to get these things out of us. It says here, when you have this and everyone's in unity with it, okay, this kindness, this thoughtfulness, this true ahab, you will not have wars, fighting, and hatred. It will all disappear when you get this law perfectly in your heart. Yahweh's kingdom is a mighty kingdom that can't be disrupted. That's for sure. The scriptures speak of that. It can't be penetrated or broken down. And that reminds me of, where's that? 1 Corinthians 14. No, 4. 1 Corinthians 4. And let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to start in verse 15. Well, actually, I'm going to paraphrase it because here it's talking about the teachings. It says, Yeshua Messiah, let me just read it. For although you might have 10,000 teachers in Yeshua, yet you do not have many fathers. For in Yeshua Messiah, I have begotten you through the message. And I'm thinking about this scripture because it's the teachings that comes forth from the house of Yahweh that's going to allow us, if we accept them, to be a part of the family of Yahweh, to be a part of this kingdom of priests that's going to bring peace to the entire universe, okay? So it says, I have begotten you through the message. You have become my children through this message. Then I want to look down to verse 19. Well, verse 16, therefore I plead with you, be followers of me. Okay, and think about us in these last days. Think about pastors saying these things to us right now. Okay, just imagine sitting out here and this is what pastors saying to us. Okay, therefore I plead with you, be followers of me. For this reason I have sent Timothy to you, who is my beloved and faithful son in Yahweh, who will bring your minds into remembrance of my ways which are in Messiah, as I teach everywhere among all the called out ones. Now, some of you have become puffed up, conceited, and arrogant, as though I were not coming to you. But I will come to you shortly, if Yahweh is willing. And then I will find out, not the talk of the ones who have been puffed up with pride, but their power. For the kingdom of Yahweh is not in talk, but in power. What do you want? How should I come to you? With a rod or with Ahab and a gentle spirit? Okay, the kingdom of Yahweh is not in talk, but it's in power. Okay, power and authority. Okay, if Yahweh says something, it's going to be done. Simple as that. So we can be arrogant and conceited and think we're better than we think we really are. Or we can humble ourselves and allow these teachings to continue to penetrate our hearts and minds and join in with this work and let Yahweh lift us up in due season. But right now we're training, man. We're continuing to train, and we must become humble just like Yeshua. Yeshua was humble and he taught humility. Okay, he never lashed out and fought back. Okay, now he did correct. And so don't mistake correcting for pride or arrogance. Okay, because we have to be corrected. Yeshua was a teacher, so he had to bring forth correction, but he was humble. Okay, and we have to be humble. We have to be humble when we receive corrections as well. So continuing on here, I want to jump over to verse 14. Let's see. It says, you can preach peace here on earth, but you've seen what preaching peace does. They kill the preacher. You know, people don't want to hear about these things. You know, the House of Yahweh has been persecuted from the very beginning, right? What's the name of the first righteous priest who was killed, murdered? Abel, right? But Abel is not going to be forgotten. The scripture says that yet dead, Abel still speaks, right? So it's at Abel that the work was started, and it's at Abel that Yahweh is going to bring forth the completion of this part of his plan, right? At Abel. But they've always persecuted and murdered the righteous, the preachers. That's what they did. The men of Yahweh, the people of Yahweh, they always came after them. You know, I really have to just do a lot of jumping around here. So Pastor goes on and he talks about the great plan and how it's not hidden in the heavens. How he's broadcasted his plan and told them exactly what he's going to do. You know, how he has this plan to bring forth people that's going to teach righteousness. Okay, that's going to teach righteousness. And this is what he was saying today. They're watching us. Okay, they're watching us. You know, voting, seeing who they can trust. In the bottom of verse 21, it says, back to this kingdom. Yahweh's kingdom can't be penetrated. If you will notice the way Yahweh Shema is built, nuclear bombs won't have any effect upon that kingdom. Hailstones or anything that could be thrown can be diverted because Yahweh does control the powers of the universe. Yahweh's desire, now this is important, man. Yahweh's desire is that no one should perish, but that all should come to see this great light that's taking place here on earth. It has taken place. So, you know, this great light, remember the scripture says, you know, don't hide your light. You know, do you place a light on a hill and cover it with a basket or something like that? Do you hide it? No. You know, when you're trying to guide someone, you try to make sure that there is much light as possible so that people can see, right? So that people won't trip or hurt themselves. Just think about those concepts, the concept of light and what it's for. And remember, Yahweh says that, you know, we are a light to the nations. We're supposed to be training so that we can guide these people so that they won't die in their sins, to turn them from their sins. So if we're not actually humbling ourselves to receive the information to help someone else, then what are we here for? You know, so that we can speak the words that we're learning to make ourselves look like we're smart, because these words are valuable. These are the words of Yahweh, okay, more valuable than gold and things like that. And so, yeah, they do make you look smart. But what are you doing with that power, with that authority? Is it for yourself? Are you being puffed up with pride because you can actually say something, that's helpful? Or are you really trying to be helpful? Okay, it's what you have to consider. Why are you doing this? Is it for your own glory or for the glory of Yahweh? Okay, so consider that next time you open up your mouth. I say that with the utmost ahab. Continuing on here, it says, when you sin, well, I kind of jumped a little bit, but verse 24, the people he's teaching here right now are the remnant of this great kingdom. The remnant of this great kingdom that Yahweh is putting together. In the start of it, there was a breeding program that actually brought forth a perfect man. Then he goes on and he shows that, through our actions, we could either bring forth the righteous genes that we pass down to our children, or we can bring forth genes that'll defile our children and cause them a problem. These things go into our children, and he says that whatever we put into them is either going to bring forth fighting, hatred, and wars like we see, or we're going to bring forth the kingdom of Yahweh. I'm going to just paraphrase this really quick here, and then I'm going to turn it over to the great priest who's speaking next. But he's talking about here on page 70, the bottom of verse 37, he's talking about bringing forth this judgment. He said, it's the same judgment that you are having today. It's the laws of Yahweh which are being presented to you. You're going to be judged on how you react and how you handle the knowledge that is given you. Okay, so the priests are bringing the information to the people of Yahweh. Okay, if you accept that information and humble yourself and grow in the house of Yahweh, then Yahweh will lift you up. But if you reject the priest, if you reject the information, if you rebel against these things, it's like it says, if you reject me, I will also reject you. Okay, that's not me talking. These are the scriptures. We have to remember all of these things, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Okay, we have to accept everything that the house of Yahweh is teaching, or we're not joining ourselves to the great house of Yahweh. Yahweh bless your understanding. If you'll all please stand, I'll turn over to the great Kahan Nathaniel Hawkins.
Praise Yahweh, men of Yahweh. You can please be seated. Proving to the courts of heaven at this time that we will uphold the way of Yahweh and that we can be trusted, that we will bring ourselves, our own bodies, into subjection to Yahweh's law, and knowing that it's the microorganisms that are going to allow us, or we're going to be using the microorganisms to be able to resurrect those who have gone to sleep in the faith, and eventually all of Yahweh's creation is a huge task. And we have to be merciful, we have to be considerate, we have to be thoughtful, and we have to practice these things today. And when I say today, I mean in this time period, okay? It's not just today and then tomorrow you eat and sleep today and tomorrow you just die or whatever, but that you have to put on these characteristic traits, and we have to practice them continually in order to be part of this kingdom that's going to govern the entire universe. One of the things that we have to do is a bruised reed we will not break. In other words, you see an individual going through various things, you know how to handle them or to deal with them. You know the proper prescription for them, as you and I learning to be doctors of the law and practicing the keeping of Yahweh's law. We have to know how to administer the way of Yahweh to Yahweh's people and to all of Yahweh's creation. You and I were created to be servants, created to be slaves. And we're going to be slaves in one way or another. Either you're going to, we assist the microorganisms willingly through true ahab, or we'll just be allowed to go to sleep and we feed the microorganisms with our returning to dust. Either way, we're going to assist Yahweh's plan. Satan's going to have her rest. She could have chosen to have it through true practicing of Yahweh's law and the true merit of the keeping of Yahweh's law. But now she's going to come to a different type of rest. It's rest nonetheless, right? But we want to be those who will obtain a righteous report through the courts of heaven. And what Pastor brought out earlier today was just so amazing and wonderful where that's concerned. So continuing in chapter 9, the kingdom of priests will bring peace to the universe, part 1. Let's pick up, let's just remind ourselves again of in verse 40. It shows that word earth, when Yahweh says that he established judgment in the earth, that word earth was not just speaking of this planet, but it was speaking of Yahweh's entire creation. Okay, so Yahweh established judgment, his judgments throughout the entire universe, and he placed his people, the ones who he would choose to be a family of priests, in the most perfect conditions to yield a family of priests that the universe could offer. So everything on the planet is exactly the way that it needs to be in order to yield a family of priests. Okay? And we know that all of Yahweh's creation rejoiced when this earth was created and the plan was started, because that's what the scripture shows plainly, that all of the hosts of heaven rejoiced in the fulfillment, seeing the fulfillment or the initiation or the establishment of Yahweh's plan through the creation of the earth. Okay? You remember Pastor said today that all of the courts throughout the universe are engaged in this decision that's being made in these next 2 days. Will we be obedient? Will we follow the instructions, whether we understand them or not? Will we wait on Yahweh for the understanding? Wait on Yahweh's great teacher for the understanding, so that we can see clearly and be able to teach others the blessings that are coming forth from Yahweh's house. So let's pick up on, we're going to go to page 71. We're picking up on verse 45. It says, those who are coming in the name of Yahweh, okay, those who are coming in the name of Yahweh Yahweh has forecast in advance. Okay, he has foretold of those who are coming in the name of Yahweh. Those who come in the name of Yahweh are going to be those who have already said, blessed is the one who comes in the name of Yahweh. You remember? You receive the reward of a prophet. He who receives a prophet receives the reward of a prophet. If we say, blessed are those who come in the name of Yahweh, we will be those who come in the name of Yahweh. Okay? I will make man in my image. Right? Genesis 1:26. I will give him authority. Remember that. That's the kingdom of priests and kings who he is building, that everyone right here can have an opportunity to be a part of. I mean, such a timely statement. You know, it's just such a timely statement that Pastor made right here, considering what he spoke about earlier today. You can have an opportunity to be in that kingdom if you set your mind to do righteousness. Okay, now that of course means putting yourself down, putting your own desires in check, putting your own thoughts in check, okay, for the sake of Yahweh and his house. It's something that has to become a practice for us. It has to become, as the scriptures refer to it, it has to become our habit. Okay? The scriptures refers to Yahweh's law, the keeping of Yahweh's law, as a habitual thing. Okay? It has to be a habit for us. And you know how hard it is to break habits. Okay? If our habit is repenting, it's a hard habit to break. And prayerfully, you would never have the desire to break the habit of repenting, because repenting is actually much more than saying, I'm sorry. It goes more into atoning, okay, and the true meaning, the meaning of atonement. Okay, but Pastor continues here. He says, if you'll set your mind to it. Verse 46. They get their blessings from the house of Yahweh. Everyone gets their blessings from the house of Yahweh. Well, what is that blessing? Of course, it's the law. It's the teaching of Yahweh's house. He's always taught his law at his house. The answers are at Abel. The sermon Khan David Yehuda is going to bring, now of course he's at that time he was going to bring how all of Yahweh's works were at Abel. Okay, they were at Abel. Let's go to verse 48. Go over Luke 19 and keep in mind what we just read there. Just as the firstborn of many brothers, he was the firstborn from the dead. He was born from the dead. He was born over and actually received this transformation from blood to spirit. Okay, this transformation from blood to spirit. He was the first to do that. He's the firstborn of many, and those many include you and I. If we take hold of the opportunity that we're being given, if we establish, if we give Yahshua Messiah all his glory and honor as being the high priest over the house of Yahweh, it's your choice, it's my choice. The ones who follow him are going to have the same thing. He was the perfect example others have strived to follow. I wouldn't want to think of ever dying like Yahshua died or suffering what this man suffered. No one has suffered that much. He was awake every minute of it. He experienced it for hours and hours, agonizing the death that he suffered to pay for these sins. In all this that he went through, he never once used power to harm an enemy. Okay, if you remember, he said, if I wanted to, you know, when the disciples got a little bit zealous and started executing judgment by the sword, he said to them, remember, if I wanted to, I could call down legions to defend me. But these things must come to pass. When Yahshua was on the stake, he could have saved his own life. Okay, he could have saved his own life, but these things had to come to pass in order that he would have a greater reward. He never once used that power to harm an enemy. Not in any way. He could have he had received the power at that time before he died. Keep in mind that he's the firstborn of many. You are the remnant of this many. That many is you and I. Luke 19, verse 38, it says, saying, blessed be the king or the kings who come in the name of Yahweh. This is what we read in Psalms 118. Peace in heaven. Did you read over that before? This is what is going to produce. This is what it's going to produce. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest. The highest is Yahweh's kingdom. Yahweh's kingdom is the highest. There is no higher than Yahweh's kingdom. Let's go over to in verse 52. He talks about the myth that one would is going to die. He says it's a myth that no one will die. There will be deaths. There will be accidental deaths. Probably most of them will be accidental deaths. Most of them won't be deliberate like they are today. Okay, so in the time that Yahweh's kingdom is established, there are going to be those deaths that occur. And even Pastor said at one point that some of us might die, but we have the ability. It'll be for the purpose of teaching, number one, and we have the ability to be resurrected. So you're not going to miss anything. You'll be willing to suffer for the sake of teaching people the lessons that they need to learn. Let's go over to verse 55. Yahweh has set us way out. It says Yahweh has set us way out from the rest of the universe. He somewhat guarded the earth to keep them from destroying it. Okay, so at one point, all of Yahweh's creation knew that the earth was created, and they rejoiced. Then their hearts started turning. Others ones wanted to trespass, and they came. They trespassed on the earth and tried to take the earth for themselves, tried to do whatever they wanted on the earth, created real-life video games of dinosaurs that were killing each other and other creations that were also killing each other. And Yahweh put an end to that and sought to perform his will, perform his work. And they were coming to the end of a portion of that work that Yahweh started on this earth. There have probably been many times they've tried to destroy the earth in guiding asteroids and so forth toward the earth, and we know that to be true. As a matter of fact, one of the things that they said concerning the moon is that the moon is kind of runs a pick for the for the earth. It's a basketball term. Sorry for those who don't know what it is, but the moon runs a pick. Okay. And defends the earth in many ways. Okay, verse 56. We as a people, and this is what this is saying. The kingdom, as a kingdom, are getting down to it and working to accomplish taking over the universe. That's why we're trying to overcome. We don't overcome sin intellectually. Okay? You don't overcome sin intellectually. You do it by determination of righteousness. Okay? That's how we don't reason away sin. We don't debate sin. We don't, try to go over our experiences again. Or what I'm saying is we don't strive to experience sin in order to teach against it. Okay, that's what Pastor was speaking about earlier today also. It's not a matter of experiencing sin. The scriptures is chock full with examples of what sin brings. And if we could give our time to reading, and take these things to heart, believe what is written, it'll alleviate a lot of the suffering for us. Okay, living a righteous life is living a life of wisdom, understanding, knowing what the next step should be, knowing how we should conduct ourselves. Because within Father Yahweh's law is really the blueprint to living a life of wisdom and understanding. I mean, the blueprint is really there. Of course, we have to have everything. It's just like what Pastor taught us. It has to be the laws, the prophecies, and the foundation, the writings of the prophets and the apostles. All of them have to go together, and those form the every word of Yahweh, which Yahshua Messiah told us plainly. So we have to take on the every word of Yahweh in order to be able to guide and direct ourselves in righteousness, our lives in righteousness, and become part of that awesome priesthood, that kingdom that Yahweh has waiting for us. Okay, is waiting for us, okay, to govern and to judge appropriately and bring peace to the universe. Let's go over to verse 61. The old waste places that it's talking about in Isaiah are some that are probably destroyed. There's probably no life there at all on those planets or inside them either. That's because of wars, fighting, and chaos. I'll show you how. I know this is just in just a moment. It says, I'll show you how. I know this in just a moment. We see from our telescopes that there is chaos in the universe, okay? If you remember, they have evidence of whole galaxies colliding with each other and forming an even greater, bigger galaxy, okay? That's like, if you'll just imagine two vehicles, let's just imagine two semi-trucks heading toward each other and just colliding head on, okay? And that's just a tiny example. If you can imagine and think of all the lives that are lost when two galaxies collide with each other, okay? And these are the things that Yahweh wants to put an end to, right? Put everything back into the proper balance that it needs to be in. Pastor says, I have no doubt about it. He says earlier, well, maybe there's some, let's see. They can see where the forest used to grow. These are on some of these planets at one time. They think, well, maybe there's some life. I have no doubt about it. I think they probably were destroyed like Earth would be destroyed if Yahweh didn't step in and stop it. There's the examples. Yahweh is going to show how following his laws would stop all the hatred, bitterness, fighting. The ones who go out or whom Yahweh sends out will show that, yes, this is definitely true. Okay? He says here, he's talking about the word blessed. Blessed and celebrated with praise are the kings who come in the name of Yahweh. Oh, who are who are sent out in the name of Yahweh. Remember now, this is talking about a kingdom here that Yahweh was the first to, that Yahshua was the first to enter. Okay, so Yahshua was the first to make it into that kingdom. Let's go down to verse 65. The reason that most of this is going on was because there was a misunderstanding that Yahshua was going to start the kingdom then. Okay, so that's the time when the disciples, they used to talk about who's gonna, remember Pastor said that they used to talk to each other about like who's gonna be the greatest among them, and they actually also pointed out certain things about the temple, and Yahshua told them plainly, look, that temple is gonna be brought to nothing. Okay, that temple is gonna be brought down to nothing. Don't focus on that. Focus on Yahweh. So Pastor shows here that the reason for most of this is misunderstanding, right? They had a misunderstanding that Yahshua was going to start the kingdom and then and there, and it was going to take over as all the promises of the Holy Scriptures said it would. It wasn't meant for that time period. Okay, that's what the disciples were looking for. Ruler, when are we gonna get this started? When are we gonna kick off this taking over, of these kingdoms that are gonna be ours? I can't wait for it, Yahshua showed them, that it wasn't for their time. You remember when Yahshua died and they went back about their own business, and Yahshua had to come back and gather them again, right? And tell them, look, focus and get back to work. Focus and get back to work. Let's go over to verse 66. And it's talking about the heavens and a kingdom of priests. Yahshua being the firstborn into that kingdom, who come in the name of Yahweh. peace in heaven. So these things, all of those were from the book of Luke, chapter 19 and verse 38. That's what Pastor was going over. Peace in the kingdoms. Peace will be brought to the entire universe, and you have the opportunity through your obedience. You remember what Psalms 110 shows, that they will have shown themselves obedient. And these 2 days are perfect for us to be able to show our obedience to Yahweh through his witness, okay, what his witness has shown us and is showing us, and what we will further understand and learn tomorrow. What a blessed time that we're in. It's such a wonderful time to be in, and you should be thankful, and I know that you are, and we should continue showing Father Yahweh our thanks for this time period that we are living in. If you'd all please stand. And while you're standing, I have an announcement. We could use help